Guys, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir, I can see.
Okay, fine, sir. So in yesterday class, we have discussed the requirement suite. I think up to the get method, up to get, right? So in this class, we will proceed further. So we have seen how to create the employee object. We have mapped the employee object. After that, we have seen get the employee data using the ID. So we already mapped this thing. Get all employee data. Okay. So we have already seen this requirement, get all requirement data. And then we have seen get the employee data using the query parameter. Okay. Here you can see the query parameters are added. Okay, which you want to apply. Okay, so actually we are not discussing right how you can do the testing. Okay, we are only discuss how you can map your requirement into your postman tool or any of the tool which you are using in your project. Okay, so after completing the mapping concept, we will move on to the testing side. Okay, because if you don't know the mapping, then you will can't connect with the server and get the successful response. Okay, so that's why the mapping is very very important. So okay, let me call one more time who has not joined. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Guys, every classes, live classes, we have the recording session. If you miss any of the live class, you can watch the recording session. Okay, or due to some reason you can't attend this batch, right? So you can also join the next batch. Okay, so it's up to you. Like I know some problem having the issue, right? So you can also join the next batch also. Okay, otherwise you can also go through the recording session. Okay, so yeah, now we are moving to the next requirements. And one more thing, guys, the recording session will be available for the 30 days only. Madam, you can rejoin the call, I think. Guys, can you hear me properly?
Yes, Vikas.
Yes,
Yes.
Vikas.
Madam, you can rejoin. I think there is something issue at your end. Everyone can hear me actually. So, guys, one more thing. The recording session will be available only for the 30 days. So you can download this recording session in your machine so that you can watch at your time also. Okay. And yeah, we are moving to the next requirement sheet. So you can see it here. Let me first start my server. I will going to start my server. And what is the command to start my server? Let me copy that command. Let me copy that command actually. What is the command to where it is? Where it is? Give me a second. Let me, yeah, this is the command to start your server. In the real time we are not doing. Okay, for this practice purpose we have created this JSON server actually. Okay, yeah, I have started my server. You can see server get started. Okay, now what, let me collapse here. You can see in the requirement we have the delete requirement here. Okay, so we will discuss the delete requirement later on. Okay, not now, because after deleting the employee I have to again create the employee. Okay, so that's why I will not discuss the delete requirement. Okay, We are moving to the next one. Update the data using the patch method. So our next mapping requirement is update the data using the patch method. Okay, so you can see it here. Guys, quickly tell me what method I have to use based on this requirement sheet.
Patch.
Patch method. So you will go here and select the patch method, and what next I have to do? I have to pass the base URL. I will copy the base URL and pass it here. Now tell me what is the next? The resource, employee, and the ID. So what this ID means, guys? The ID
That
which I have passed here, what it means actually?
Passing particular dynamic parameter.
Yeah, the this is a dynamic. Why it is dynamic? Because let's suppose you want to delete Rahul data, you want to delete Mayank data. So every person having the unique ID that is created by your server. Okay, so you have to pass the unique ID, right? So what I will do here, this is your collection, and let me create one data. I have created one data. His ID is 13. The ID of Rahul last name is Singh and the Mayank 123 is the email ID. ID is 13. So what I will do here, I will pass the 13 here. Clear? Now coming to the next requirement, coming to the next mapping, sorry. Content type is application JSON. So we'll go to the content type, and again it's very much similar which we have already discussed. Okay, so application JSON. Okay, right. Now if you are using the patch method, then you have to also pass the parameter, so select the body and then raw, and then now you can tell me how I can map this property, the first name, last name, prefix. What I have to do it here in your request? What action first I have to do? I have already explained this thing.
So JSON object.
you have to create the object array.
We have to get the object.
Sorry?
We are patching it up, so we are updating, so we have to get the object.
Okay. Other thing? I till now I did not get any accurate answer actually.
We need to only update what we are required to, not
Yes,
all
and
the.
that is provided in the sheet, like what we need to update. So those fields we need to write the JSON now.
So to add this property, I told you first we have to create the JSON object. Inside the JSON object I can add, correct? Agree, guys?
But we are not creating, Vikas.
Yes.
We are actually updating already existing one, right?
No, I'm asking that you have to create the request. You are not creating. I know this is the patch method. In my, first you have to create the request, not the data. Not you are not creating the data in the server actually. You are creating the JSON object here in the body actually, so that you can connect with the server. That create is different, and here we are creating the JSON object actually.
Okay.
JSON object. Okay. So to use this property, to use these keys and value, first you have to create the JSON object, right? And inside the JSON object, you have to pass the keys and value. Agree? So what you will do, first name, and pass the first name here. Okay. And pass the value Rahul. Okay. So I pass the value here, Rahul. Okay, and the last name. What is the here you can see the string value, body, and employee first name. So same stuff, same thing, which we have seen in the create call, in the post call. Okay. Now the last name. So I will copy the last name and will go here and pass it here. Last name. Okay. So last name. I have passed the last name here. So same thing which we have already completed for the post method, we will do the same thing here. Okay, so I think we don't have to again explain the same thing. Same mapping is there, same. Okay, so what I will do here, I will copy this requirement, copy this request body and pass it here. Okay, now the ID is already passing here in the URL. Okay, so guys, one thing let me clear you. In my requirement sheet, they have used the ID in the URL. The data which you want to update, that particular ID, I am passing in the URL along with the URL, right? Now, in what happened, you got one project. Inside that project you are using the patch method and you are passing the ID in the URL. Okay, yeah, it's matched with our thing. Okay, now let's suppose you get some project. In that project you are not using the ID in the URL. Then because the requirement is you have to pass the ID in the body. So do not get confused. You explain me that you have to pass the ID in the URL. Okay, so we have to work according to the requirement. Okay, if your requirement is asking that and developer has implemented the same, the ID you have to pass in the URL, right? Or if it is not mentioning in the URL, then they will mention in the body actually. It depends on the requirement. Okay, so do not get confused with two different things. Both will do the same thing actually. Only the position is changed. Okay, you are mentioning the ID in the URL if that requirement is there. If there is not such type of requirement, then they will use in the body in that case. Okay, so right now I am using in the URL. Okay, I have generally they will use the URL actually. In the URL you have to pass the ID.
So
Right,
like
but some of the project they are also using in the body actually. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
like for other methods also this will work, like for get.
For get, no. For get we have to pass in the URL actually, generally in the URL. In the patch, in the put, in the case of delete also. Okay, so generally 95% they will use the ID, the unique ID in the URL actually. In one small project was there. I have worked on that project like 3 to 4 months only. It was one short project, short duration. You can understand like a POC. So in that project, they use the ID in the body, right? So at that time, I get to know that thing. You can also pass the ID in the body because it was not that particular project requirement. Okay, at that time I also know that thing that you have to pass the ID in the only in the URL actually. I was also that time confused, but when I work on that particular project, in that project they have used the ID in the body actually. So I also discussed the same thing with the with my developer and the concerned person, and he told me this is not necessary actually. Okay, it depends on the designing, how the requirements are coming and how the developer had designed. based on the designing. If the developer has a design like you have to pass the ID in the URL, then it will work with the URL. If the developer has designed the stuff you have to pass in the body, then it should work in the body actually. Okay, clear guys?
Yeah, one more thing. Like
Yes.
here in patch method, you have used full body, all the details. So it is because the data has not been created. If the data would have been created before using post method, then we need not to add all the
Come
details.
again, sir. Come again.
Like in this patch method, we are using the full JSON object,
Mm-hmm.
each
Okay.
and every
Yeah.
detail.
Mm-hmm.
This is because the data has not been created. No?
No. Data using patch method, always remember, you can't create the data. Using patch method, you can't create the data in the real time. Only post method is, responsible to create the data. Here you can see I have passed all the keys and value, but with ID. That means this ID, this user is already exist. If I not use the ID here, and let's suppose I have selected the patch method. Let's see what happened. Can you see the error message?
Yes. Yes.
It's same call. Only I have changed the method. Instead of post, I am using the patch. Can you see that data get created or you are getting error message? Because the patch method is responsible for to update the data. So it will go to this particular resource and it will find the unique ID. And in your case, you are not passing any unique ID. So that's why it's showing you 404 not found. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Okay, so we are passing the 13 because the data which I have created, the ID is 13. You can see ID is 13. Okay, so I have passed all the things here which mentioned in the requirement mapping set. Okay, nationality is address. Okay, now let me update. Let's suppose I want to update the email ID. Rahul Sa 123 @gmail.com. Okay, I have changed the email ID and let me update. You can see I'm able to update the data. You can see the ID which you have passed in the URL, the same ID get displayed here. So guys, when you are updating your account, like the banking account, the email ID and the whatever the detail you want to update, is your customer ID, employee ID will get changed or it remains same? It remains same. Okay, same concept is here. You are trying to update the data, the ID will be same. Your ID will not get changed. Only the data which you have updated, that will only change. Okay, so what name I have to put this method? Tell me.
Update.
Update employee using patch method.
Update the employee. Update the employee. Update the employee using
Patch.
the patch. Using the patch. Okay, and select that particular folder where you want to store. You can see it here. Now, after mapping this thing, your mapping is completed. Now it is up to you what scenario you want to apply.
Suppose because as per in the requirement document, you can see like address is only street is mentioned to give like update. So if we provide like removing all the rest other fields and keep street and then update, so in the response, only the street will come, or along with house number, postal code, city and country will come.
No,
That we won't be providing it in the request.
Let's suppose I'm trying to update this
Yes.
thing. Okay,
Yes.
I'm trying to update this thing. So it will update this particular address along with the other data. You can see if I change the value, update here. Okay, and let me call. Let me use the get method actually here. Give me a second. 13. Let me call. Strange. Okay, I got it. So what happened? Let me explain you one more thing. So guys, in the real time, what happened? When you are creating this object, guys, you can mute please. When you are creating any object, right, you are creating the employees. So guys, tell me how many objects are there in this request body? Tell me. How many objects are there in this request body? Tell me.
I think two.
Two
Like
objects.
the main objects
Let me
and one is
copy
like
this
address
thing.
object.
Let me copy
JSON
this
only.
thing. Let me copy this thing and open this thing in JSON editor. JSON editor online. Go here and paste the thing. Now you can tell me how many objects are there in this request body.
3 objects are there. Okay.
3.
How you can say 3, sir? I can see only 1. This is the
So
one.
main object inside that address is array object 1 is there.
Exactly. So we have one main object. Inside the main object, we have the address array, right? Inside the address array, we have the one object, we have the another object. So one main object, 2 child objects. So total number of object is 3. Correct. Okay. So what happened in the real time? In the real time, when you have let's suppose you having the 3 object. Okay, so server, when you are connecting with the server, server what will do, it will assign the unique ID for each and every object, So it will assign one main ID, unique ID for the main object, and for this address we have 2 objects. So each object should have the unique ID. Right now, you can't see the unique ID here because this server is not implemented like that. So that's why you are not getting the unique ID here. Okay, but in the real time, you will get the unique ID for each object. So in the real time, you will get like that. The ID, the main ID is like that. Let's suppose 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this one ID will get assigned. Okay, the ID will get assigned. So this is the address ID, address object ID. Let's suppose 98. Okay, and for another object, it will assign the one more ID, that is unique 77. So in the real time, the response will get it from the server. It will looks like that. The main ID which we are already getting, and we will also get the ID for the child object. Child object, right? So now the question is, when you are trying to update, for the main object, you pass the 13. Agree? Agree, guys?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You pass the 13, but inside the address array, we have the child object. Okay, so let's suppose you have multiple child object, let's suppose 2, right? So you are updating the first one. Now how the server will understand which child object you have to verify, you have to update? Okay, let's take some other example. There is one parent, husband and wife, and that guardian, that parent having, you know, 2 sons and 1 daughter, right? And you want to give the, you want to want to give the gift for the one child. For the one child you want to give the gift. Okay, now tell me, you, each child having the unique name. Agree? Each child having the unique name, right? Right. So if you want to give to any particular child, right? So when you come to that parents' home with the gifts, right? So you want to give the gift to particular child, right? Let's suppose the child name is child 1, child 2, and child 3. Okay, and you want to give the gift to the child 2, right? So when you come to the that parent's home and you want to give the gift to that particular child, that is child 2, what you will ask to the child, what you will ask to your to his parent? Actually, tell me.
Who is child 2?
So you will ask to the parent, could you please call the child 2? Agree? Agree, guys?
Yes.
Okay, if I call, could you please call your child, then what happened? All the child 1, child 2, child 3 will come, right? Then the person who is giving the gift, he will get confused, right? Who is the child 2? Right? Same situation here. Okay, we have to specify which child, which object you want to update. For the parent, we have passed the ID. Okay, now for the child object, for the child which you want to provide gift, for that child you have to provide the ID, like that. Okay, so in that case, that particular ID will get updated.
But how will pass the 2 IDs now here, Vikas? Like another
Let's suppose
slash.
I am updating the another child also. Okay, so I will copy and pass for the another child. like that.
No, in the query where we pass the server and the resources name all. So how we'll specify there for which uh, like address we'll be updating there? Should we send any parameter there?
No, when you are creating the data, so server will provide you the unique ID, right? So when you are trying to update the data, so in the backend, what happened? It will create the one object. Inside that object, it will create one address. We have the address, right? Inside the address, they have used the array and they have stored the element based on the ID. So when you want to update the data, you are passing that particular ID. So it will go to the employee, go to the 13 ID, and it will go, when it comes to the address, it will find this ID and update the data. Okay, now when you update the first one, it will come to the next one and it will find this ID inside the 13, right? And it will update your data.
Okay. Can you just do this one? Like just keep
This
the
thing,
ID and
yeah. This thing actually, I have to find the real time, the practical section actually, because this concept, when you get the exact implementation of the API, in that case, it will work. So it is right now we have the dummy thing, so that's why it will not work. But I will try to find some example where I can show you. Okay.
okay. So that time you mean to say if we send a ID along with only like street, if we are updating only the street
Yeah.
value,
So
then in the response we get street, house number, postal
yeah,
code,
exactly.
city, everything.
You will get everything along with the street actually. Along with the street. Okay.
Okay.
Along with the street, you will get the everything.
Because I think like if in first time when we create the data using post method, then only if we get at that time only we will be getting IDs for all the child objects.
Yeah. When you are first time creating your fresh data, right? So it will create the ID for you. It will generate the ID for each object. Okay, so that you can update that particular object in in patch method. Okay, when you call the same thing using get method, you can get that ID also.
Okay. This will help like if we are having duplicate key value pairs of child objects. So
in the
definitely
real time, generally the server will generate the unique ID, right? In one of my project, when I started in my first project was, so what happened, developer has implemented for the parent, they are generating the unique ID, right? But for the child object, you can also use the duplicate, but not for the same ID, not for the same ID. Let's suppose we have 13 ID number 13. Okay, ID number 13, okay. So this is your ID. Let's suppose 12133, the parent ID. Okay, so in this parent ID, for this particular object, the child ID should be unique. Okay, but when you create any other data, let's suppose 1 to 1, the new data is 1 to 1. For that data, they are they are not generating the unique ID. They use the same ID, the ID 98999877, but the parent ID is different. Okay, so sometime it will generate the unique ID in every main object. For every main object, it will generate the unique child ID. Okay, but sometime in some of the project you can also pass the duplicate one, but not the similar in the same ID. Let's suppose this is your one-to-one main ID, and your child ID is 101. Then you can't use 101 here. For the same ID, you can't make the duplicate. It should be the different. If it is 101, then it should be 103. But in the case of, let's suppose, some other 125, okay, so it might be same with the different ID, different object ID, the main object ID. Okay, so like that in the real time, the developer has implemented. Actually, you will get different types of scenario how they are generating the ID actually.
So child
Okay,
objects
so
ID should be different every time.
yeah, for the same object ID. For the same object ID, let's suppose I am creating the Rahul. Inside the Rahul, I am using the address, multiple address object. Okay, so when I connect with the server has generated this ID 125, and the child ID is 101 and 103. Clear? Now, when but both are different, the server will assign the different for the same object ID. Okay, now when I try to create Vijay, okay, so the ID will get changed, the main ID 129. Okay, sometime depends on the implementation of the API. They will create the ID of the previous one. They will provide the ID of the previous previous users. Okay, but in the same user, it can't be the duplicate.
One question, Vikas.
Okay.
For the object,
Yeah.
we are creating the ID by our own, means this 101, 103. This is our own value, or in real time we are getting this ID.
So what happened in the real time? This ID will provided by the server. Okay, and
Now,
one more concept I want to explain. Sorry, come again.
Right now we are getting this ID for the main object only, not for the child object.
Your voice is breaking.
I'm saying right
Hello?
now. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
ma'am, tell me.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
now
I can hear you.
getting ID for the main object only, and this 101, 103 are, this is our own ID, means we have random number we have taken, right?
No. That number is also provided by the server.
But right now I have used get method. I'm not seeing this ID, child object ID. I'm seeing only main ID.
That's the same thing I told you. This particular server is not implemented like that. You will get the ID. Okay, so in the real time you will it will work like that actually. So I will, if I find something like example like that where I can show you practically, then I will show you. Okay,
Got it.
right now I have explained you the theoretical concept of the child object ID actually, how you have to do in the real time. Okay.
Hello. Yeah, Vikas, but you told like in update method, ID will not change. Like, so how can parent ID get changed? Parent object ID. Can it get changed in?
Sorry, come again.
Yeah, I'm asking like in post methods in patch method can the parent object ID can change?
Here you are asking.
Yeah, like we want to update, we are using patch method, so parent ID can change, parent object ID.
No. The data which you want to you can change it, sir. You can change it, but it will update that particular ID actually. If you want to update Rahul, you have to pass that particular person ID here. Right. If you want to update some other person, then you have to pass that person ID here. If that particular person ID is exist into your database, then it will get, that particular ID will get updated. If it is not exist, then you will get 404 not found. You can change it. You can change it, but it will update that particular data.
Okay, like in earlier case, you were telling that a parent object ID can change. So it may change when we want to update, or this will be done by server?
No. This ID we can't change.
Okay.
You can't change. This is provided by the server, so you can't change this ID.
Okay, this parent object ID, right?
Parent object ID, even the child object ID also, you can't change it. Let's suppose currently it is 9899, and if you change this thing 1011, and if it is not exist into your server, then you will get the error message.
So in what case, like, it may change?
No, we can't change ID which is generated by the server, because using that ID, server has stored the data into his database. Right? So yeah, there is one case you will not change this thing using the API. Using the REST API, you can't change it. In that case, you have to go to the server, either SQL or SQL, MongoDB, then find this particular object, go to inside the resource, and manually you can change it from the database, not using the call, not using the request. Clear?
Yes. Okay.
If you want to change, generally we are not doing. If you want to change, then you don't have any particular request in the real time to change this ID. You can create, but you can't change. You can only update your data.
But in what case will we go for situations like this where address itself is a multiple objects? What will be the scenario we will go for this? Because this doesn't seem to, when we can't change it and all, why will we go for such a multi-object?
I told you, when we are storing the multiple object for the same thing, in that case we are using the array, right? And let's suppose you want to update any particular feature, any particular object, then you have to use the ID actually. So it's decided by the requirement actually, madam, right? The requirement will decide which object you want to create array, and inside that array you can use the multiple object. So guys, tell me, you have the patch requirement. Okay, you have the patch requirement. Let's suppose leave it, all the things leave it. You have only post method to create the data. Inside the post method, we have different keys and value, which is one address array or any array. I'm not asking only address array. I'm asking any array which is divided by the requirement. And inside the array, we can store the multiple object. Right? Now you created your data. Now when the new requirement comes, that is patch method. The patch method is asking you that you can update your data. You can update your data. Okay. So you can update your data. When they will say you can update your data, then they will also, generally you can update all the data which you can use in the post method. So let's suppose in the post method, you have used all this data: first name, last name, birth, surname, smoker, address, any other object also, right? So when you get the patch method as a tester, what scenario you can apply? You will try to update each and every property except some of the things it's by default you can't change, like the ID of the object which is generated by the server, and sometimes the email ID, because when you create, something is after creating the data, you can't change that thing. That depends on the requirement. Okay, that particular data you can't change it. And apart from that, as a tester, what you will do, you will change the nationality, you will update the type, you will update the date of birth. If you're having the array, address array, then what you will do, you will try to update the address object also. Okay, so that is the basic purpose of the patch method. If it is asking to update, then as a tester, we are trying to update each and every property. Clear, madam? Any question, madam, or it get clear? I can't hear you, ma'am. Okay, let's move to the next requirement. We discuss the patch. Okay, so when I come to the testing side, I will explain you everything. What are the things you can update? Right now, we are trying to understand mapping thing, how you can map the thing. Okay. Now you can see there is one request: delete the employee data. Delete the employee data. So quickly tell me. Let me save this thing. Let me save this thing.
Vikas,
Yeah.
regarding updation of that patch method, again the object, if I want to update that, then again I'll have to give the inner ID, right?
Not all the inner ID, the data which you want to update, that particular ID you have to pass. Let's suppose
Can you show me one, please?
That's the same thing I told you. When I get the real time, some example, at that time I will show you. And I can only show you right now. Let's suppose we have two address, right? One address and the second address, right? And as a scenario you want to apply, you want to update only one. Okay, so in that case you can remove the first and you can pass the unique ID, which you get it from the server. Clear? Simple. If you want to update multiple, then you can pass the multiple. If you want to update only single object, then you have to pass the ID of that object. After then it will get updated.
But it was getting changed, no? It was creating one more, some other ID, right? You updated old Delhi update you did, right? So it was showing something else. So that's why I'm asking whether it can be done now so that we can see.
No, that I can't. It's the same thing I told you. Right now, I can't show you with the ID actually concept, because this particular server is not implemented like that. Okay, that's why when I am trying to find where I can show you the ID concept, the child ID concept, and I can show you the practically how the practical.
Vikas, we can't hear you.
Because this particular application is not supporting that feature.
I think because your mic was muted.
Hello.
We couldn't hear the last part. Your mic was muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
what you was explaining, please
Okay.
explain again.
So yeah, so I'm asking that what I have explained you as a theoretical section, the same concept will apply in the practically also. Okay, so when I get some the practical example of this particular scenario, then I will definitely show you. Okay, so what I have explained you, right, the theoretically same thing will happen when you do in the practical, same thing.
Now, the thing is, now this is a array, right? So every time we are updating an array, this will be the kind of issue we'll be facing. Am I correct in my understanding?
Ma'am, the simple concept, if you want to, how many, you tell me which thing you want to update here. You tell me. In this patch method, what data you want to update and how you want to create the scenario, you tell me. What data I have to put, what data I have to remove, and
No,
then we
I
create the
can
scenario.
understand. I can understand about the others because it's a simple concept. It's a simple update. But when you have told us about having an array,
Okay, I'm repeating the same thing. When you creating any employee object, if you having the multiple object, then server will create the separate object ID for each object. Okay, so let's suppose here we have one main object. So server will assign one main object ID. Okay, now we have two child object inside the address. I'm not asking only address. If it is phone number is an array, and inside the array we have multiple object or single object, it will create the unique ID for the phone number also. But the thing is, it should be the object. So here you can see in the address you will get the two object, right? So server will create the two separate ID, assign the two separate ID here, right? Now you created the data successfully, you get the response. Now you want to test the update feature, you want to test the functionality of the update. Okay, let's suppose if you want to update the in the real time, you are testing with the different permutation and the combination of the scenario. Okay, if you want to update the single property, okay, what you will do, you will pass the single property in the body along with the URL along with the ID. So that particular data will get updated. Okay, now you want to update the object other multiple property. Okay, in that multiple property you don't want to update the address. Okay, so you remove the address, and what you are doing here, you pass the main ID object either in the body either in the URL. Okay, and you will update the things. Okay, it will get updated. Now the third scenario, you want to update the address. Okay, you want to update the address, so it's up to you, you want to pass the other things or not. Let's suppose you don't want to pass, you only pass the address, and in the requirement there are some mandatory things which you have to pass. If there is not any mandatory things, then you don't have to pass any other property. Let's suppose you must have to pass the name along with the property which you have to update, then you have to also pass that particular key and value. Okay, so you are trying to update the address. Inside the address you have the multiple object, and as a scenario you want to check all these means you want to update all the object. So what you are doing here, you pass the multiple object with the particular ID, and this ID you will get it from the post call. when you created your data. So you will refer this ID from there, right? And whatever data you want to update, you can update here. You can pass the data, you can update. So it will go and find the first main ID, then it will go inside the address, then it will find the child ID, then it is 101. If it is get match, then it will update your data. Okay, then it will same situation will happen here also. Now you are applying the another scenario. In the another scenario, what you are doing here, you want to update only particular data. You don't want to update all the scenario, all the address object. You want to check if you trying to update only one address object, it will get updated or not. Are you getting any error or? So what you will do, you can pass the valid ID which is existing, which you have to refer from the post call, and you have to pass it here and you can update. So single ID address will get updated and other will not get updated because you have not did any action on the other. Now the another scenario. In the another scenario, what you are doing, inside the single object you want to update only house number. What you are doing here, you are passing only house number. So when you call this API, it will go and check the main object ID and it will go to the address and it will check this ID. If this ID is exist, then it will go and update this particular key which you have used here, and it will update this ID and other data which we have. That data should be retained. That data should be retained. Now another scenario, if you are not passing the ID, if you are not passing the ID, in that case you will get the error message that this particular address which you are trying is not found. And I'm also asking, it depends on the requirement. In some of the project requirement, if you are not passing the ID in the address, then it will create one separate inside the address and assign one new ID. In some of the project, if ID you have not passed, then it will return the error message. So that's why in API testing, everything is not fixed, depends on the requirement. Clear, madam?
Clear, sir. Now, one small, can I ask? Now we are passing the main and the sub ID, which is already there. That will be in the query parameter?
What? I'm not using the query parameter.
No, now I have decided I want to update the child and I want the parent ID to be passed as well as the child ID to be passed.
Exactly.
I want to update it. So where will I pass it, sir?
Here in the body actually.
Okay.
Here you have passed the main ID.
Yes.
In the patch. And what data you want to update, you have passed, and yes, address you have passed along with that ID and hit it.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Got it? Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the third section, last section, delete the data. So let me revert this census. Yeah, you have saved.
But do show us this. This seems to be important because every other object that we update, we will need this.
Yeah. So actually in this particular implementation, you will get only in the real time actually. I have tried multiple application where I can get this example actually, but I could not find, right? So, but I will try to, try to find this type of example where we can use the object ID, child object ID, and we'll try to update. Okay. If I find I will immediately, I will explain you. Okay.
Thank you.
In the API testing, right? So in API testing, everything is, depends on the requirement actually. Okay, everything. You can't implement all the things in your project actually. Okay, everything is the requirement in the API testing. Now we are moving to the next part, delete the employee data. So for that, what you have did here, what is your requirement? Delete. So you will select the delete method. You will go here and select the delete. Okay. Now what URL you have to pass? The base URL. So I will copy the base URL. This is your base URL and pass it here. And then what is the ID? Here you can see I have to also pass the ID. So why we are passing the ID? To ask to the server which particular data you want to delete. Okay, so let's suppose you want to delete the 13 which you have created. Okay, so you are passing the 13. You are passing 13 here. Now the content type application JSON. You will go here and change the content type as a application JSON. Okay, now you can see the same thing here. The ID I have used and the content type. Okay, and let me call. You can see it here, data get deleted and you will get 200 with blank response. If you go to your requirement sheet, you can see the response is 200 and it is blank response. Okay, and one more thing, you might have question in your real-time project, you will get here 204 no content. Okay, so whenever I told you, whenever we will get the successful response, right, so you will also get 204. So if you are returning the 204, then you will not get any response in you will not get any response by the server. You will get blank, right? So in that situation, we are returning 204 no content. So in the real time, if you get 204 no content, then do not get surprised or do not consider as a bug. It might be 204 also or 200 okay also. It depends on the requirement, right? But not 201, because 201 is for creating. 201 is for the creating. So you will get either 200, either 204. 204. Okay. So this is all about your this real-time mapping sheet. Let me save this thing. And what is the name? Delete the employee data I have created. Now guys, when I will try to get this thing 13, so what error message you will get?
404.
404 not found, because earlier it was existing. Now the server, now you have deleted that data, so you will get 404 not found.
In this Vikas, if we want to do selective deletion, like from parent object, few key pairs only we want to delete.
No. You in the REST API, you can only delete the whole object, not any single one. Let's suppose you have created this data, right? And your question have I want to delete the first name and last name or address, right? Using the delete, you can't do it. You can replace using the put method.
Okay.
If you don't want the first name and last name, right? So you can replace with your value. Okay, but you can't delete the whole object, any particular one. using the delete method. You can't. You have to delete the whole object. Even not the child object. You can't delete the child object. Let's suppose here the child object ID is, for this child object ID is 129, and you want to delete. You can't delete the child. You only delete the main object. Clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
You can't delete the single property. You can't delete the child object. Okay. Now we are moving to one next requirement, that is GitHub requirement, which is very, very important. So go open your Google Chrome and type Git developer API and open the first link. I will provide you this link, and go to the REST API overview and go to the resource in REST API. Give me a second. Reference. Go to the reference. Here you will get repository. Repository. So let me provide you this URL to you. This is your next requirement, which we will discuss. Okay. So this is your next requirement, which we will discuss. Okay. So same concept, same thing here. Okay. So you can go here, and this is your requirement. This is your requirement. Let's suppose this is your Confluence page and this is your requirement. And here you can see create an organization repository. So why we are using the Git actually in the real time?
Create a repository.
Create the repository where we can, after creating the repository, we can store all the project related document. Either it is code or either it is any document. We can store all the thing inside the repository. So this is for, that particular requirement. Okay. So what we will do, we will follow the same concept here and we will see. First, you can see create an organization repository. You get the description and you can read the more detail. Create a new repository in the specified organization. The authenticate user must be a member of the organization. So this is your requirement. They have provided the detail. Okay. So let me open the GitHub. I told you try to sign up the GitHub account and sign in. So you can see it here. This is my GitHub account. This is the organization. This is the organization which you can create. Create an organization and you can create. If you create an organization, you can create. So join for free and you can create an organization. Okay. So this thing is homework for you. So create, you will get the default also. You will get the default when you sign up. Okay. If you want to create any additional organization, then you can go create an organization and click on join to free. Click on join to free. Here you can pass the organization name. Okay. And your email ID and your my personal account, and you can create and verify the account. Okay. So like that you can create the organization. So the requirement is asking you, create a new repository inside the specified organization. What did you understand by this line?
After creating the organization, we should create a repository for our testing.
So after creating, we will create the organization manually. Okay, and this particular line says you have to create the organization in the specified organization which you have the access, which you have the member. Okay, so I sign up this GitHub and this is my organization. These two all are my organization. So I can create the organization, sorry, I can create the repository inside this two particular organization only. I cannot use your organization. Okay, I can only create the repository inside this organization, because this is my GitHub account and this is my organization, so that I can create the organization inside my, create the repository inside my organization. Okay, so that the requirement says. Okay, now auth scope requirement, it asking you that it required the authentication. Okay, it required the authentication. So I will explain you that thing later. So this required the authentication. Okay, and here you can see, which I have explained you. Can you see the same stuff here or not? Post method. So let me create one new folder, add one folder, give some folder name as a git repo, and I have created inside that folder. Let me add. So guys, could you please help me to map this requirement? I will not say single thing. Now you will help me. Tell me. I have explained you two requirement.
The method
base
is
URL
post and the
Okay, so first one is the post. So I will select the post here. Now, next one.
the base URL we need to look for. Then
Okay,
the
the
resources
base
organ.
URL. So I have to get it from the developer. So right now they have already provided the base URL. This is the base URL. Okay, API github.com. This is your base URL. Okay, so I will copy this base URL and pass it here. In the real time, either you will get it in the document. Generally, you will not get it in the document. You have to get it from the developer. Okay, now you can proceed further. What I have to do?
The resource is like next is organs.
Orgs.
Organ
Okay,
orgs.
okay. I have to copy this thing and I have to pass,
To
right?
paste. Yes, but
Now tell
here
me what.
but here like dynamic value they are given like organization ID or what is that within the flower braces,
Yes,
and then again
exactly.
resource.
So you
So
can
what
see
is
it. Give me a second, ma'am. You can see it here. This curly bracket, what it means actually. It is an
dynamic ID.
dynamic thing which you
value.
have to pass. Okay, which we have already, I have explained you in our requirement, right?
Yes,
So in
after
this
that
case,
resource.
you have to find that where I can get this dynamic. Here you can see it's saying the organization org. Okay, in the parameter, and you have to, it is an string, and here you have to pass in the path. Path means in the URL. This is your path. Now they have not mentioned the description, so that means the org means here the organization where you want to create. So this is your organization, this is my organization which I have created. Okay, so you can see it here, this is your organization. So I will, what I will do, I will copy this organization name and I will go here, and instead of this dynamic value you can pass this thing. So what happened, this is your base URL, this is your resource, and inside this organization it will create the repository. Clear?
Clear.
Okay, so that, where is your requirement, go to the, yeah, this thing is clear, right? Now
if you go to repository folder, like there is again one more
no,
like a
repos is the resource.
resource. So that resource where is there after going to the organization?
So it will create the it will inside this organization, it will create the repo.
Okay.
The which organization you will pass it here, if it is valid, then it will create the repo inside this particular organization. If I pass Sah Vikas, this is, I have two organizations, Sah Vikas. If I pass Sah Vikas, then it will create the repo inside Sah Vikas.
So in this, like, don't we have to do it manually in GitHub, create this repository?
No, you can also create the manually, but our concern is using the REST API will do.
So this is will be first time, no? Like next time we don't need to create repo.
Yeah, sir, do not consider this thing as a that repo, the code repository and all the thing. This simple understand, this is our REST API. Using the REST API, we are trying to create the repo.
So
This
like
is
once
for the testing. Yeah, you can create only once, or you want to do practice, you want to create more repo, you can. But in the real time, yeah, the team lead or architect person, they are not using the the REST API to create the repo. Okay, they are using the GitHub UI. Okay, by clicking on the new, and they will pass the repo. This is like REST API. This is just for example. Okay.
And who will create this in real time, like repository, organization, everything like this?
Your team lead, your client. Yeah, yeah. So this is just like a project. Do not consider as a this is I'm not going to explain you like a GitHub how to commit the code, how to merge the code, how to pull the code, how to resolve the conflict. I'm not going to explain this thing. This is just like a requirement. You are working in the GitHub requirement, just like that. Simple. Okay. Now we will discuss the remaining thing in tomorrow class, guys. Okay. Is that fine? We will discuss the other requirement, other mapping in tomorrow class. Fine.
So we just need to create a GitHub account, nothing else.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to do the, if you why I'm asking you to create the GitHub account, because whatever the one madam I think asked me the one question, can you please show whatever the action you are doing in the backend in the REST API, the same thing can you see in the UI also, data get created or not? So that purpose I'm asking you, you have to create the GitHub account so that you can see the changes in the UI also.
Okay, Vikas, thank you.
Okay,
the class is very good today.
If you don't want to create, do not create. We will use the only API.
Okay, Vikas.
Okay.
In this, Vikas, like we are creating repository by this Postman. So
Yeah.
repository name, what we will give in this?
That I will discuss, sir. Do not hurry. We are not completed the topic. We have still mapped the things actually. You can see. Here is the mapping sheet. Here you have to pass the name of the repository.
So if I do it manually and then I name my repository name after this organization, will it be fine?
You are saying you are trying to create not using the Postman. You are trying to create using the GitHub.
Yeah, if manually I do.
Yeah, you can. So in that case, when you successfully sign up and you sign in to your GitHub account, you have to go to the home page. Here you will see the organization. Click on new. Here you have passed the repository name. Let's suppose test API. You will pass the repository name. This name is already exists, so I will pass the unique name. Let's suppose give some project name. Let's suppose SBI project. State Bank of India project. Okay, so you have passed the project name. If you want to make this thing as a public, then you can select public. If you want to available this thing in your only local, then you can select the private and create the repository. Simple. Your repository get created, SBI project. Now you can see it here. Clear?
Clear, sir. Another question I want to ask, like,
Yeah.
in post method, if we are doing, sorry, in patch method, when we are updating, we are having this parent object and then child object. So if I by chance one child object ID I give correct and another one I did the mistake, I did not pass the right ID, then what will be the response when I do
So
patch?
okay, so what I told you in the few minutes before that, if the ID will get match, either it is multiple or single. If all the ID get matched, then it will update your data. If let's suppose in the first object you pass the correct, in the second object you pass the incorrect one, the ID using that ID data is not exist. So in that case it will give you the error message,
Okay,
right?
okay, means full.
Not data will not get updated, it will give the error message. One scenario. In another thing, depends on the API implementation. Depends on the API implementation. If you pass one correct ID and one incorrect ID, or if you not pass any ID, right? So one scenario is you will get the error message. The server will not found that particular ID, right? Now in the second part, the data will get updated. How? Let me here you can see this ID is exist, this ID is not exist, right? This is an invalid ID and I am using one more ID. Here I am passing the not any ID here. Not any ID here. I am not using any ID, right? This ID is exist, this ID is invalid, and this I have not ID, pass the ID. The first thing depends on the API implementation, how the developer has implemented based on the requirement, right? So if any of the ID will not get match, then it will return the error message. Clear? This thing is clear?
Clear, sir.
Now, in the second part, depends on the requirement, depends on the how the developer has implemented. If first ID is matched, second ID is not matched, and third ID is not there, then what will do? For the first one, it will update the existing data. For the second one, it will go and check the data is exist with 103 or not. If it is not, then it will create the new data inside the address and with this ID which you have provided, the invalid ID. In the case of third, if you are not passing any ID, then the server will assign the ID.
Okay. Can you please explain second scenario again, because it got muted?
Again explaining you. So in the first case, if this ID is exist, then it will update the existing data. This thing is clear?
Yes.
In the second case, if it will go and check this ID inside this main object 129. Okay, if this ID get exist, then it will update your data. If this ID is not exist, then server will create the new data with this value along with this ID. Server will not assign one new one. It will create the data with this ID which we have passed inside the address.
If ID is not found.
If ID is not found, then same situation. It will create the new data inside the address.
So
Clear?
okay, fine. If means if ID invalid or if ID not found, it will create a new data.
New
Hello.
data depends. If your API, if your service is supporting that feature, then otherwise, if any of get unmatched, then it will return error message. Clear?
Clear.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, third scenario. I think third scenario was left.
Third scenario?
Yeah.
I explain the third one. If the ID is not exist.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, guys. So we will meet tomorrow and discuss the GitHub requirement. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Vikas. Thank you.